Thank you so much for joining us today for this press conference. I just want to start by acknowledging some people who are here. U.S. Attorney John Huber, Chief Mike Brown, Special Agent Paul Hartel, and Deputy DPS Commissioner Jimmy Higgs. And we asked you to come down here to share some thoughts with you on a very important issue to our community, which has been a collaborative effort with multiple agencies across the state, and also a great partnership with our PI and U.S. Attorney's Office. And we came here to address the issue of online enticement, that is the targeting of our children by sexual predators. And we come to you here, as I said, multiple jurisdictions as a part of a task force known as the Child Exploitation Task Force, made up of many agencies with one objective: to keep our children safe from online predators. As we become more interactive and dependent on multiple social media platforms, online enticement, which refers to a broad spectrum of victimization and predatory behavior on all platforms, is sort of defined as follows. It takes various forms in terms of sharing sexually explicit images, meeting in person for sexual purposes, engaging in sexual conversation on grooming behavior, and trading in and selling of child sexual images. And I want to personally thank all of our partnering agencies throughout the state on this very important effort. But I want to speak to you also just as the Salt Lake County prosecutor. In the summer of 2018, we were contacted by our FBI partners seeking a partnership, and our common interest of protecting children and child safety aligned, and we were eager to join them in this effort. But I really didn't know what the full scope of this was. And the CTEF's effort by catching these predators before they're allowed to act. This allows our law enforcement partners and prosecutors to do an otherwise impossible thing to do, which is to prevent children from being raped, kidnapped, and murdered. Beginning in September of 2018, working with the limited resources we had, but because the cause was right, we were able to engage on limited part, and we identified over 80 predators who were caught and are being currently screened and being prosecuted by our office. But we also wanted to really understand what the full scope of the issue was. So we partnered with all our partnering agencies over a 1-month period. And there were about 4 operations that were done. And within that 30-day period, 30 predators were identified and arrested as a part of that effort, which starts to highlight the prevalence of the problem that we have. And the purpose here is to really share this information with our community, to share it with our parents, to let them know that there are these predators out there. The day of when we used to worry about somebody leaving a school and our child being able to safely get home, those are not the predators anymore. The predators are already in our homes on those digital formats. And so as a result of this effort, it has been a team effort. But let me highlight just a couple of other cases why this is so important. We had one predator who was arrested, convicted, did 210 days in jail, was released, and within 10 days was already on picked up again for enticing yet a second child. He was then prosecuted, convicted, sent to prison, and through the DNA, and now has been identified as a potential suspect in an ongoing investigation of an unsolved rape case involving a 14-year-old. These are genuinely alarming trends that we see. But I can assure you that as far as the Salt Lake County DA's office and all the partners who are concerned, that if you're going to travel into the state of Utah, that you will be investigated, you will be prosecuted, you will be held accountable, and you will be appropriately punished. And I cannot speak highly of the partnership that we have and what a team effort it is. And so with that, I will turn my time over to our U.S. Attorney, John Huber.
Thank you. Thank you, Sim. Sim and I have been colleagues and partners on many projects for over 20 years, and we appreciate the invitation to come down today and participate in this joint press conference to talk about these joint operations. So these internet chat rooms and similar platforms are the playgrounds of child predators. It's where they roll. It's where I think they're going to succeed. It's where they exploit our children. These virtual environments are hypersexualized, as they can be. And within moments, chat can go from hello, how are you, to talk of dirty pictures, and to talk and arrangements to meet up for sex. It happens very quickly. A child predator is, in that way, a child predator is like a fisherman who's diligent in casting his line over and over and over in hopes of finding a naive target. That's what our children become on these internet platforms. Certain of them are very popular with child predators. And I wouldn't say it's easy, but the good news is that we have tireless efforts of law enforcement professionals, men and women who work endlessly to keep our children safe. That's the good news. Now, in turn, as we speak to you today, and I think we're all happy to talk with you in more detail if something catches your ear, but as we talk to you in the community, we expect you to step up and protect your children beyond the efforts of law enforcement who will work 24/7, 365. We expect you to match the sophistication of these offenders. As they grow more sophisticated, we expect parents, guardians, and interested adults to become more sophisticated themselves in protecting these children. And it's together. Take the task force mentality of my office can't do it alone. The FBI can't do it alone. Salt Lake PD, Salt Lake County District Attorney cannot do it alone. We have to work together on our end. And similarly, as a community, we need to work together and find a way to better protect our children. And so we're talking about enticement. We're talking about coercion and trying to coax children to engage in sexualized activity. But we're also talking about exploiting children through documenting and recording, taking photographs of their physical abuse. To call it child pornography doesn't quite cut the mustard anymore. We need to call it what it is: the recording of the rape of our children. We need to keep our work up, keep working together to stop this problem. And these partners with me are committed to do that. And we know that the community is committed to do it. There is no higher priority than protecting our children.
Good afternoon. Today I'm speaking to you not only as the head of the FBI here in Salt Lake, but also as a father and a member of this community that we serve. The issue that we're talking about, as has been said, is not a law enforcement issue. We need the community to take some role in this and to actually try and impact this before it becomes an issue that the law enforcement has to talk about. Online enticement involves virtually every type of device and program that you see out there. Your children are probably on these platforms as we speak. The predators that we seek don't fit a mold. They don't fit a certain demographic. And what they're trying to do is gain access to our children. Online enticement, as Sim said, the online enticement of the children can lead to sex trafficking, sexual exploitation, sextortion, kidnapping, rape, suicide, and murder. The numbers that have been talked about today represent a significant threat to our community. There are adults out there who are intentionally trying to harm the children of this community. We will use every tool available to try and stop this predatory behavior, but again, we need the help of the community. Parents, pay attention to your children. Talk to them about what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. Learn what apps they have on their devices. If you don't know what the app is or how it works, ask the children. Google it. Try and figure it out for yourself. If you need more information, contact the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. You will find on that website, there will be resources that can help educate parents and children alike. To the kids out there, remember that everyone you're talking to in a chat room may not be who you think they are. I would like to thank all of the members of the Child Exploitation Task Force for the tireless work that they do in our investigations. Without their assistance, we would not be effective. Thank you.
Good afternoon. This operation, kind of dubbed Operation Chat, is an outstanding team effort of state, local, and federal resources that crossed multiple jurisdictions. Every year across the United States, thousands of these cases are identified and prosecuted against child exploitation suspects. Here in Utah, we are not immune to the scourge. Salt Lake City Police Department averages almost one arrest a week, and we have done so for the last year, of child exploitation cases. Sadly, this is a crime that has the potential of affecting any family with children who has access to the internet. These perpetrators of these crimes cross all socio-economic backgrounds. They are teachers, clergy, doctors, athletes, students, and so on. Additionally, and perhaps more troubling, they are fathers, cousins, aunts, wives, friends, and brothers. But make no mistake, we will hunt down these sick predators, and we are committed to focusing ongoing resources to combat this disgusting crime against the most innocent of our community. I want any man or woman who intends to exploit children to know and to think twice, to know that they should be afraid, because they could be the next to be caught. This team, this task force is exceptional, the work they do. And here's my charge, and it's been said several times this afternoon. I want every parent and guardian to know what their children and their teenagers, to know what websites they're on and what they're doing on the internet, to know who they're talking about, to know who they're talking to, where they're going, and who they're going to meet up with. Look, it's not a crime to be a nosy parent. Thank you.
We'll take some questions if you have, and also available afterwards for individual one-on-ones. Any questions? Yes.
This is for anyone who wants to answer, but how do we get parents to understand the significance of these crimes if we can't put in detail in print or on TV what these people are accused of doing? How can we get parents to realize that these crimes are serious?
Well, one way we can certainly say is that in the last little less than a year, by the time that we're done through this operation, our office will have filed almost 110 cases. And so that talks about their holding those individuals accountable and what is going on. But there are, maybe our FBI partners can talk about what some of the preventive things that they have. There is the national tip line for missing and endangered children. There are websites that are available that talk about the different kinds of apps that are there. But most importantly, parents really need to start that conversation. The digital technology that we have in our households, they bring that world inside our home. And as the chief said, there's nothing wrong against being a nosy parent. And as John said, we really need a community's help. We can only do our limited part of it. We need your help to get the message out that this is happening, and so that dialogue can start. I don't know, John, or anything else?
Are there any platforms that are maybe worse than others? Because, everybody's and their mothers have Facebook, but there are maybe some other ones that maybe parents don't use as much as kids do. So, are there some that might be a little bit worse off? Or more prone to have predators on them, you know what I mean?
Well, I think I would probably, I think it's simply to say that we have digital platforms and everybody understands them, but I don't want to go into any details because that's still part of the task force operations. Yeah.
Can you, I guess just explain more about what this task force is, how long it's been operating, and sort of why this last month is being highlighted today?
So the task force is comprised, they should have a list in the packet of members of the task force. It's been going at least the past 5 years, I would say. And it's a group of dedicated law enforcement officials who meet and they work on these investigations together. That's the way we can do it. We have a limited staff here, but it's through the great work of our partners both in Salt Lake County and other counties that really help us be able to address this problem.
So this operation over the last month, is this different than what is normally?
No,
happening?
this is just a 1 month snapshot. This goes on every month, and it goes on throughout the state, not just in the Wasatch Front, but throughout the state.
You mentioned that parents need to, step up their game and, talk to their kids. Do you think that maybe parents are getting worse at it? Maybe a little bit more lax than we ought to be?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think what's maybe happening is that parents are getting complacent in knowing which apps they're comfortable with and not learning the new apps that are out there, the new platforms that are out there to discuss things. I just suggest that anyone with children, especially, unfortunately, we're looking at children from 3 and 4 on now, where in the past it was mainly teenagers. Just make sure you keep up to date with the new platforms that are out there and what they're doing. There's plenty of information available to find out what your kids are on. But
So in answer to the question of why today, why this month, it cannot be lost on the community when the Salt Lake County District Attorney, your elected representative, and the United States Attorney, appointed by the President, show up together with the Chief of Police, the Department of Public Safety, and the FBI to try to get your attention. This is a major problem. When we say 1 month, which is a sliver of the work that this task force has done, 1 month is really overstating it. We're talking about a number of days, say 4 days, within those 30 days that netted 30 arrests like that. What does that tell you? That's called a thermometer. That's a barometer that tells you what kind of problem we have in Utah. And when we ask parents to step up, we're not being critical of parents. Every parent has the best of intentions to protect their child. And when the FBI special agent in charge says, parents need to do it, well, so does the aunts, so do the uncles, so do the teachers, so do the faith leaders. We need to step up. We cannot be complacent because this is a major problem. And what is the risk at the end of this story? Is that your daughter or your son will be sexually abused by an adult. And how will that change them and society for the rest of history? This is not to be trifled with. This is to take as serious as you can when the Salt Lake District Attorney and the United States Attorney stand here and ask you to pay attention as a community.
And just to touch upon that, Peyton, for us as Salt Lake County, as John mentioned, that this was really about 4 days out of a 1 month period where people got together. And for us, it was about gathering data and to sort of get a sense of how severe the issues are. And what we learned through this is that if you have these 4 sort of days that they work and we get 30 perpetrators, with the limited resources that we all have, this is a group of individuals who come there voluntarily. The resources are brought together. This is extra work for everybody. And for us as Salt Lake County, when I look at our numbers on the paucity of effort that was put, and we have 80 already in the pipe, and 30 that are come out of this single operation, that's 110 predators in less than 11 months of our involvement in it, and that was just a very small investment of time that resulted that. One person who abuses a child is far too many for our community to suffer. And 110 that are identified in this small data set starts to actually talk about in the epidemic terms that John is talking about. And when we look at it, if we had resources to do this on a daily basis, I shudder to think the number of people who are there. For every one person who comes in contact that is arrested, there are multiple individuals they may have come in contact with, and there are multiple individuals who we have not come in contact with. The example that I gave you of that one case, of that one person, there are 3 victims, but there were 2 potential victims that he took an affirmative step to meet with, and a third one now is of an unsolved rape case of a 14-year-old. And that's just one person. And unfortunately, there are far too many. And this is something that we need our community to step up about. It's going to have to be a community effort. We don't have the resources to be able to do everything. That's why this was so important for us to capture that data, to share this with our community, say, one, first of all, you have many individuals who are committed to protecting the children. But 2, we need a community effort and their support because the parents have to do their part as well. We all have to do our part.
And just real quick to follow up on that. This operation isn't one and done. We're not done. We're just highlighting 30 days of work. Make no mistake, the Salt Lake City Police Department is committed, as well as all these task force members. We're going to do this tonight, tomorrow night, the next night, and this is an ongoing operation that we will continue to hunt out and to find these predators. We just need your help. That's what we're looking for.
How can parents start the conversation with their children, and how can, if there's a victim out there, a child who is a victim and is too afraid to come forward, what do you tell that child?
Well, first of all of us who are parents, we need to just start talking to our children. And we need to recognize the world has changed. The technology is pervasive. There are platforms and apps that are there that take you to places that you don't want to go. So I don't think that, when I reflect back when we were talking, I don't think I actually spent the time myself looking at all the stuff that my children's apps were and the smartphones that they have. But certainly, I'm much more observant about those issues, right? And so, first of all, you have to start having communications with our children. We have a tendency now in our culture to say, well, they're young adults and they're doing their stuff, we're doing our stuff, and we're all sort of separated by our technology. A simple conversation about hey, what are you doing? How are you doing? Open those channels of communications. Look at the technology that you as a parent are providing to your child. And we need to have open, honest conversations about the dangers that are out there. And the most important part is the victimization that occurs about the threats that are made to these children, about the fear that somehow they're at fault. And we have to be able to have an open, honest conversation with our children to say they are not at fault. If something bad happens to you, you are safe, you are loved, and there's a community here within our family and a community out here who is going to believe you and help you, and your safety is the utmost concern. We just got to start having those conversations.
To your point, I have 3 young boys, a couple teenagers. I know I look like I'm 38, but I'm really in my 50s. But if you want to have a really awkward time, and we were going to basketball practice last night, I was driving, and everybody was on their phone. It was real quiet. I just took the phones away. And it was like, Dad, come on. And so we, 5 minutes after complaining, we started talking and visiting about life and school and different things like that. I think sometimes you just have to limit the technology and then talk to your kids about what they're doing when they're using that technology. And to your point, very good point, if you find that your child has been victimized, please call the police. Please report it. Let us make a report. We have training and victim advocates that can help us to talk to a child victim and to put them first and foremost. But I think the very first thing is to talk to your children. Limit the time. Take the phone if you need to. You're still the parent. And then please report it if there's a crime.
Just briefly, again, that National Center for Missing and Exploited Children does have a lot of resources for parents on it. It's also a way that someone can report something without, if there's a teenager who wants to report something, there's an app there, or the FBI.gov will have ways to report issues as well. So.
When You were talking about those few days the task force kind of got together and started, I guess, filing charges or, putting cases together. What was actually going on? I mean, did everybody gather in one room and was there a sting operation, or what was going on?
That's the secret stuff, we can't tell you that.
Well, I think that, again, I think that's a legitimate point that the Chief's making. Our goal is here not to talk about methods and processes. Suffice it to say, there is a task force that is of law enforcement and prosecutors who gather together for recognizing that this activity is going on, and their focus is on intercepting and working with those entities and those individuals. And so it was a concerted effort that came together. And so we have met at different locations. At the law enforcement building, we had one here in this office as well. But that's as far as I'm going to feel comfortable talking about. Anything else? Yes?
Is this something that's happening outside of Utah too, like these kinds of efforts?
Yeah. I want you to touch about that.
Thanks, Sim. Are we getting close?
Yeah, we're getting close. This is the last one. So
That's a great question, and I think that's a role that we play with the federal law enforcement tools we have, and those are cases that we get interested in, the interstate cases, but certainly Utah is not the only state in the union who has this problem. This is a nationwide problem. This is a Western Hemisphere problem. This is an everywhere problem. Children are exploited throughout the world, but to have that problem in the United States of America, the greatest nation that the world has ever seen, it's nothing to be proud about. And so, yeah, Utah, we have distinct problems. You've got 30 people worthy of state felony or federal felony prosecution out of 4 days of work. We got a problem, but I don't think it would be fair to say Utah is totally unique in that. This is a nationwide problem.
The Center for Missing and Endangered Children recorded $10.2 million on their tip line that came in. So it's an issue, which is the whole country. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for coming here.